Okay, Rick, James Parker, how's it going, mate? Thanks for sending me your swing in. I just pulled it up and kind of zoomed in a little bit. When you put the camera on the ground, you're way too far away, right? I had to really zoom in to get close to you. So kind of get it maybe 10 feet behind you, and then kind of 10 feet in front of you when you're doing your face on. But your camera angles were perfect, right? But you don't have to stand. You don't have to get the camera so far away, right? For future reference. So yeah, I mean we've got a few things going on, haven't we? So let's kind of start with your observation of that. Now you've put down that you pull hook it, right? But I think it's more sort of I think you're going to get a lot of miss hits, a lot of thin shots, which I think you put down, a lot of thin and heavy shots. But also, I just don't think you've got control of the club very well to control the low point and also control the face. So I think your shot pattern, your miss hits, and your pull hooks are really coming from two main points, which is your low point and the face to path relationship, right? I just don't think we've got control of the wrists and the arms very well to control that face, right? The low point being obviously as you're coming down. I agree with what you say. There's definitely some casting, some early release with the wrists, right? Some kind of going into ulnar deviation rather than radial deviation. Basically, that's just a fancy word for you uncocking your left wrist a bit too early on the downswing, right? But I think if we're going to work with something, I mean, first one in, this being your swing evaluation, what I would say in your setup is, I think you've got your head too far back, and that's why I drew a circle where the center of your shoulders is, and a straight line down from the center of your shoulders. You can see the center of your shoulders is more over your back foot than over your front foot. So I would want the center of your shoulders sort of around there, right? And then, a straight line down from there is more sort of in the middle of your stance. Your head will still be slightly behind the ball. If you've got the ball position just slightly forward of center, right? So that's the first thing. If we're going to control the low point, we need the centers in place. I want the center of your upper body in the middle of your stance, right? It's your lower body that's a little bit more forward, which you do, right? That's fine. And then with regards to what else the things I'd want to change that would positively affect your shot pattern, right? So, if we get rid of those lines, and then we sort of look at your swing and we say, right, well, there's definitely you're definitely not turning very much, right, as you get up to the top. So you're kind of under rotating. As you get to the top, the arms are very bent, right? Looking at it from that angle and looking from down the line angle, there's a lot of space between your elbows there, right? So there's two things we want as we get up to the top. Number one, you want to push your hands away from your chest as far as you can, right? That keeps the left arm straight. The other thing is we want these elbows squeezing together, right? So there's a little device. It's called a smart ball. I'll send you the link to it after. And you just put it between your forearms there, and basically you're going to try and keep that smart ball between your forearms, which keeps your elbows closer together throughout the swing, right? So we could do with a little bit of that at the top of the swing, and then as we come down, elbows separating a little bit, sort of throwing the wrist angles away, and then as we come through, looking at your finish there, there's no sort of finish there with regards to your arms straight when you finish, right? So the club actually hits your back there. I want to see you finish sort of around there, sort of there, right? You see how your arm, is straighter there. I want to see you finish there. I want to see you hit golf shots and stop there, right? So you should always feel as though your hands are pushing away from your chest, right at the top and in the finish, right? That's important. So that will help keep your arms straight, right? At P4 and P9, okay, and as well keeping the ball between your forearms for the arm structure, right? And I just want to get all this done, and then we'll take a look at what you're doing with your wrists throughout the swing, right? The next thing I would want you to work on is moving your hands inward a little bit, so you can see how your hands are just coming back a little straight and a little upright there. We'll get you halfway back about there, and your left arm's only a little bit across your body, right? I want your arm more across your body. So when you start taking it away, I want you to feel as though your hands are moving more inward of your toe line, okay? Halfway back, I want your hands deeper, right? So it just means your left arm's going to be more across your chest, going back, right? I'll maybe pull up an example. So there's Hunter Mahan. Put a line through his club, same as what I've done with you. And what I want you to pay attention to is the direction of his hands, right? So you can see his hands and the shaft and the club head all come up that red line to about P2 there. So if we stop him there and we put a little line going through his left arm's moving inward, and he's got a bit of pinching under that left armpit there, look. So when you take it away and we stop you there, right, look at all this space. Look at all this space underneath your arm there. And you notice how your arm is kind of dead straight instead of moved inward a little bit more. Now as he carries on, you can see how that left arm is moving much more across his body, right? As he's done that, that left shoulder's moved a little bit more down, whereas yours hasn't moved downwards enough, right? So I want you to move your hands inward and that left shoulder moving downwards enough, right? So that's important. Left shoulder moving a bit more down, that's your left tilt, with your hands moving inward. And the way that you practice this is you get a stick across your toes, and then you get another stick going inward, maybe 30 degrees, something like that, right? So if that's 90 degrees there, and I come inward and get to 60, about there, right? Sort of, there, 60 degrees. I just want your hands moving along that stick on the ground, right? And then what you're going to find is you get your left arm more across your chest halfway back. Now, the more you can move your hands inward, the more you're going to turn, right? The more you're going to turn. Now we know, looking at it from this angle, that there's a lack of turn when we get up to the top, right? So I think the hands moving inward, that's going to take care of you turning better, as well as, we want to try and eliminate all these bends in your arms, your elbows separating apart, and that bend in the left elbow, right? So that's the next thing. It's like I want the hands moving inward with good structure, right? So I want the hands moving inward, coming back, but when you come through, I also want the hands moving inward, coming through, right? So let's pull up Hunter Mahan again, right? And we'll look at him. So he's definitely moved his hands inward going back, but then watch where his hands go now, right? So if I get rid of those lines, and I stop him sort of there just after he's hit it. So he's hit the ball, but watch where his hands and his right arm go. Right, so his right arm's going inward and his hands moving left after impact, right? So if I stop him there and then stop you sort of there, look where your right arm is. So that means your club's going to come out too high up here. Your club's going to come out kind of through your neck, with the club face whipped over, closed, right? So that's where your pull's coming from. Whereas you look at Hunter when he comes out, look where that club's coming out. It's coming out well underneath his left shoulder, and his hands come out underneath the left shoulder as well, right? So that's kind of the pattern, if you like. It's like when you set up to it, and you put a stick along your toes, right, for your alignment. Well, all you need to do is put another stick going inward about 30 degrees there for your backswing. That's where you want your hands to go on the backswing. But put another stick on the ground there, and that's where you want your hands to go on the through swing, right? So I think that little kind of grid, combined with keeping the elbows together, right? I'll send you the link. For the ball, to put the ball between your arms, right? Let's look at Hunter Mahan at the top of his swing. There you go. Right. So you look at where his right elbow is, and look where your right elbow is. Right. Could easily fit a ball between his arms there, and he could just be squeezing it and keeping it there. Right. I think if you had a ball between your arms, your ball would be falling out. Right. So that's what I mean by squeezing. That's what I mean by squeezing these elbows together, right? Squeeze them together, right? So with regards to, let's get your other swing back up here. There you go. So the way that you get your head more centered, right? So you're going to put a stick across your toes. You're also going to put a stick in the middle of your stance, right there. And that's what you're now going to get your head over when you set up to it, right? So you can see your head is just too far over your back foot. Do you see what I mean? So get a stick in the middle of your stance. That will take care of your head. That'll take care of your head being centered. And then just think about keeping your arms straight. Definitely, you want to feel like your arms are like steel rods, and you can see how there's a lot of bend in them, right? Now, before we start talking about your wrist angles coming down and how that's meant to work, right? I want you to get your elbows right first. I want your arms straighter, and I want your elbows closer together, right? Let me pull up another good swing. This is Grant Waite, right? So if we do the same with him, get you up to the top there and stop you there, and then get him up the top. You notice how the center of his shoulders is directly in the middle of his stance, right? You notice how his toes are turned out more. You notice how his knees are going out over his toes. These are all things that I want you to try and emulate, right? And then as we get up, this is what I mean by the structure, right? When you get up here, this left arm should be straight, right? The elbows should be closer together, right? Squeezing together, right? And then we'll start looking at where you get your wrists when you start doing that. But you can see at the top of the swing, he's kept his head in the middle of his stance, whereas at the top of the swing, your head looks very much over your back foot, right? So of course, that's gonna cause you to stay on your back foot and cause a lot of miss hits, right? There you go, right? But I agree with you with regards to casting your wrist as you come down, kind of uncocking a bit too soon. But you've got to feel what it's like up there first, right, with your elbows squeezing together, and then start to feel what it's like coming down, keeping that wrist angle, keeping that left wrist angle, keeping that right arm, that right elbow tucked into the side of your body. Because once you get up to the top here and your elbows are squeezing together, the feeling you've got from that ball between your arms, then it's gonna promote, as long as you keep the ball squeezing between your arms, right? It's going to promote that sort of movement pattern coming down. If you're out of position at the top, you're not going to suddenly fall into position, right? So with your arms straight, I think you'll be able to get more wrist cock, right? I think there's a lack of wrist cock going up because you're bending your arm, right? Kind of getting it up there with some bend in your arm, and get it instead of straight arm, and getting the club back there, getting the club head back there through hinging of the wrist, right? So that's what I'd like to see first, mate. I'd like to see your arm structure better. I want to see you coming through with straight arms, right? I want to see you finishing about there, right? You get to about there. Look how bent your arms are already, right? Look how straight his arm is. And then, right, he just comes through and kind of finishes around there somewhere. You come through, those arms really bend again, look. You hit your left shoulder, and then you come back down. So there's no finish position. I want you to really kind of emulate, really kind of spend a bit of time up there, feel what that's meant to be like, and then show me some swings where you're coming through and your arms are really straight that way as well, right? As well as moving around on a circle, obviously. Right, that's the hands going inward on the backswing and the hands moving inward on the through swing. Okay, mate, I hope that makes sense. Talked about a few things, but I think you can get it. If you have any questions, just shoot me back an email. Cheers, Rick.